Before there were layers in Photoshop. Yes, there was a time there were no layers in Photoshop. It was, if you wanted to composite something, you really only had one chance to make the composite, and also making the masks was much more difficult, and you had to get it right away in the alpha channel, and it was very hard to preview your results. Also, computers obviously weren't as strong, more expensive, but not as fast. And so what professionals used to make masks were what are called the image calculations. And there's 3 of them. And they're under this little line. You can see them here. Officially, the duplicate command is a calculation. And then apply image, and then calculations. We just call them all calculations or image calculations. Now, I've placed a PDF that explains these on the DVD so that you can read it, but let me explain them very quickly. They have similarities, but they also have important differences. First of all, the similarities. If you want to calculate 2 images, they have to be exactly the same size, pixel for pixel. And with the advent of digital cameras, that's very easy. Just never crop your file, and your files will always be the same size. The images that you want to calculate, they have to be open. You can't load or navigate to a file to use it for either apply or calculate. You can mix or match color modes, LAB, RGB, or CMYK, and even grayscale images in the calculate function. And you can use both commands to move selections between files. That's done much more rarely, but you can do it. In addition to all the standard blending modes that you have in your layer palette and brushes option, there are 2 additional blending modes, and I will show you where those are in a moment. There's the add, which adds light values to make even lighter areas. And in the add, you have a scale factor, which is a number anywhere from 1.000 to 2.000. And you also have an offset value, which is minus 255 to plus 255, with negative values darkening the image and positive values lightening the image. Or you do what I do, is you try and move the numbers around until you get the effect that you like. Now, the primary differences are, and this is important to understand, is the apply image will always work on the active image or channel, meaning whatever's active when you select it is going to be overwritten. So to be safe, if you're working in layers, you better duplicate that layer before you use the apply image. The apply image also lets you create color files. Now, the calculate command lets you choose a source from any open image with the same image resolution, but it only uses a single grayscale channel, meaning it can never create a color image. And calculate lets you create a channel, a black and white document, or a selection, and you can say where it should go. So it's not going to overwrite what you had active when you chose it. But enough of the talking. Let me show you how I've used the apply command to very quickly separate this Big Ben from the cloud background. So I'm going to start. I want to separate the Big Ben. This is going to be used for a travel poster, and they just want that on white, so the type will be here. Let me click on the red, the green, the blue. Let me zoom in for a moment. You can see all the detail. That's what we want to maintain, and I really don't want to have to draw around it. So let's look for the channel with the most contrast. In this case, it's the blue channel. So I'm going to duplicate it. With the blue copy active, I'm going to choose Image, Apply Image. And because the blue had the most contrast, I'm going to blend blue right back into it. That's my source. Source blue. It's always going to land on the active channel that I had when I accessed the command. And here are your blending modes. Let me just point out right down here are the add and subtract. In this case, I'm going to use the contrast enhancing blending modes. And let's see. Color burn really enhances the contrast very well. And I could try also the hard light or soft light. I'm going to go back to color burn. I'm going to click OK. Let's see how we're done. That's not bad. Big Ben's pretty dark. And now often I'll repeat that command. So I'm going to go Image, Apply Image, Blue. It's going to land in blue, and this time use hard light. And look at how much contrast is being added. The clouds are almost gone. And you can do this a few times. So study the PDF that's on the DVD, and then try using the Apply Image command. I'm going to now use levels to increase that final contrast. Let's bring those clouds right down. This little bit I can clean up very quickly. And practically in no time at all, I have separated Big Ben from the background. Let me just go around here. I'm using a non-feathered lasso tool. You could use the pen tool, of course, because it's so precise, but I'm holding down my Option Alt key, and I've turned the lasso tool into the polygon lasso tool, and Option Delete. Now, I want everything to show except for the sky, so I need to invert this mask. Now if I come back to my layer, and I can load Blue Copy and click OK, and look who's sitting there. Big Ben with all the details that we need. If you feel this is a little too harsh, the transition a little too harsh, I'm going to run a very slight Gaussian blur. I like the Gaussian blur filter. You can even do a 0.5 to soften up those transitions and still maintain all the detail without actually doing very much work at all. So review the PDF and then try practicing on this file to start working with the Apply Image command.